Before we begin the video, I would like to give a big thank you to those who show their support. Golden Pants, Michael Foster, Findel, Miles Harris, Jim Kerrigan, Ludicrous Life, Noah Barnhart, and Alexis. Thank you very much for your support. And for those of you who wish to pay tribute as well, feel free to click the link below in the description to find out more. I'll see you there.
All right, Nick. Let me ask you a question. What Rob Zombie movies have you seen?
Everything except for the end of 31 and the end of what was the other one that was kind of lesser, well known / not as big. It's about the music station.
Oh,
radio station.
Shit, another one you're talking about. Can't remember it. Can't remember off the top of my head. But
otherwise, I've seen all of them.
Okay.
Even 3 from Hell.
I haven't seen
one.
that one.
It's badass.
Yeah. I've seen a few Rob Zombie films. And, are we, hello? Oh, okay. It was just Chad coming through. He forgot something. That's okay. So, Rob Zombie made a couple Halloween films.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them, well, okay. I was more terrified from the previews. I was more terrified of Michael Myers as a kid. Because the kid that they got to play Michael Myers as a kid, Dave Farich, scared the shit out of me. Just from how he looked.
Fair enough.
He kind of looked like that one kid from Pet Sematary, except a bit more disturbing. And Halloween 2007, Rob Zombie's first one, I would probably say is probably one of my favorite Halloween movies.
I liked it okay.
I'd actually put it in my top 5 Halloween films.
I guess I would put it at like 5th, maybe.
Well,
I still haven't seen the new one yet either. But
the Halloween 2018.
From what I hear, I'm pretty sure I would like it a lot and it'd probably be up there.
Well, a lot of people. It's old school. I'll just say that.
I don't know if I really actually have 5 favorite Halloween movies. I think I have more like 3 to 4, if that.
Well, okay.
It's
no.
like I like Michael Myers as a concept and everything, but just overall, like, I feel like the first movie is pretty fucking awesome, and the second one is pretty cool, and then from there it's kind of like, eh.
Well, no, I would. Well, I've seen Halloween 2018. I'll say this. Here's my top 10 list. Number 1, the original Halloween. That's number 1 and probably will be forever. My second favorite one, Halloween 2018. Number 3, I'd probably put this. So, yeah. 3 movies named Halloween are my top 3 Halloween films. Or my top 3 Michael Myers Halloween films. And then I would say after that, H2O, and then Part 2.
So one of the main arguments about the Rob Zombie's version as to why it's not quite as good is because it does give so much backstory and everything to him that it kind of humanizes him a little more, and that kind of lowers the horror for a lot of people. I kind of like half and half agree with it because I'm like, people are fucking scary, so
well,
like if it's just a human that's psychotic, it's still pretty scary.
Well,
like,
I think a human being that is just, I think a human being that is monstrous and is brutal to the sense of where the human can do ridiculously brutal things and doesn't bat an eye about it. Because there is a level of brutality. For instance, probably one of my favorite scenes, like scary scenes that honestly didn't involve a villain or anything like that. It was the scene where Mark got the cut on his arm in 28 Days Later. Did you ever see 28 Days Later?
Yeah, but I don't
remember the two people who saved what's his name? The main character, the guy who woke up in the hospital bed. The two people who saved him. Naomi Harris was one of them, and the other guy, Mark. They're at the guy's parents' house, and there's an attack on the first floor, and then it's revealed that Mark has a cut on his arm, and the rage virus is in his bloodstream, and Naomi Harris's character knows what comes next.
Yeah.
And she takes preemptive action and slices him the fuck up. And not only does she cut him up, she cuts him up while he's screaming.
Yeah.
And you just hear him go silent after she lands the last blow. And to me, that's one of the more terrifying concepts, and also one of the most terrifying scenes in that entire film, because it's honest. It's about as honest as you can be in that scenario, and it shows just how hard edge of a person you have to be in that world to survive. And with this, seeing Michael Myers in a more human environment, him as a human, and
I guess it's like someone who watched a lot of zombie stuff ahead of that. Even though it's not technically a zombie movie, it's like, in the same kind of family, in my opinion.
Well, it's an ethereal creature
that didn't bother me as much
killed.
because that has been a concept almost since the beginning of zombies, pretty much, of someone you care about getting infected and you having to kill them.
Yeah.
And so scenes what actually creeped me out a little more than that was just the dad that looked up and blood dripped in his eye and he got infected from that, because it's that's just how easy it is to get infected by this.
You see that? No, I understand that. That is being a more terrifying, because we actually liked that character. We barely knew Mark.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is his death, the father's death, was quick.
That's true, too.
It was gunshots that killed him. Whereas Mark, it was a partially dulled, heavy machete.
Yeah.
And you saw him get his arm cut off. You see him get chopped in the shoulder, and then you hear him get chopped in the head and killed that way. The brutality, anyone, as Immortal Technique once said, any punk with a gun can bust slugs and shoot somebody, but it takes a real special breed of brutal to go up to someone with a knife and stab them repeatedly, looking them right in the eyes as they die.
Yeah.
That's another level of sick. That's another level of brutal that some people go to, and Michael Myers is one of them. He's the kind of person in this.
Either that or it's just a level of desperation and cases of self-defense.
Yeah. Well,
I could see myself if all I had was a knife and somebody was trying to kill me and I had to stab them, I would definitely stab the shit out of them.
Well, whenever you're in a desperate situation, we watched The Visit the other night. And how did the kid take care of the old man? Slammed his
slammed
his head into a friggin' fridge door, which is anything you can use.
When you have enough
as a weapon.
adrenaline, you can defend yourself pretty brutally if need be, probably in most situations.
Oh yeah, and Michael Myers, for him to just use a knife or just basic tools like a hammer or shit like that, it invites in a level of brutality.
American Horror Story 1984, the new season.
Yeah.
And slight spoiler for everyone. It's not a story spoiler really. It's just a kill spoiler, But and the dude doesn't actually die from it either. But guy gets just literally locked in an oven at a point, and the oven's left on not at a temperature that kills him quickly, but his skin starts to bubble and shit.
Yeah.
And it's that's fucking brutal to do to somebody,
No
holy
doubt.
shit. And then he ends up getting let out after he's already got 3rd-degree burns and shit and is still alive. And it's fuck.
That would suck, a big one.
Yeah.
But we got the Nostalgia Critics review of Halloween 2007 here. Let's see what Doug's got to say about this. Here we go. Nostalgia weed.
Cemetery.
Jared Leto's dignity. How he was so sense of humor. Trump's cabinet. BuzzFeed grave. Dig to learn more.
Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic guy. Remember it so you don't have to. Halloween is a creepy and subtle classic beloved by everyone, which naturally means it should be remade. By this guy. Because he really looks like a dude who understands subtlety. In 2007, famous rock star Rob Zombie decided John Carpenter's horror masterpiece of master murderer Mike Myers' wacky shenanigans needed a retelling. While disliked by many, the remake did surprisingly manage to get a little bit of love from fans. Some applauded the changes and updates to the horror staple, while others saw it as gratuitously pointless. But, to his credit, the fact that it's being debated at all is a testament to the film, which would normally be bludgeoned at the mere mention of the idea. Over the years, the film has actually gained some street cred, and I'm here to ask, is it warranted? While most people agree the original is better, did Zombie actually tap into a different point of view that was unique enough to stand on its own? Did it create a version that actually does have a purpose for existing?
Potentially.
Well, I'm here to find out. Let's give this movie a stabbing chance with the remake of Halloween. Thankfully dashed the idea that this is a shot-by-shot Gus Van suckfest, because the film immediately starts off different by showing not 5 minutes of Michael Myers' childhood, but 40 minutes. In a 2-hour movie, no less. Now, some say this ruins the mystery of what Myers was like as a kid. Hey, look at that! Look at that! No shit! It's a friggin' remake of a classic. If it didn't do something this different, what's the point of even doing it? But showing more of his childhood isn't the issue here. The issue is whether or not it's done well. In the original, it looked like a middle American family. And Michael, for the short time we saw him, seemed like a normal kid. Wouldn't it make sense to really look at Myers as a kid and see where all of this came from?
Bitch, I will crawl over there!
Oh, it's just redneck assholes. Got it.
Just
like here, that's all you do is cringe.
Fuck you.
Wait, we're stuck in this environment for more than 40 minutes? You just hammered in our head in the first 2 seconds why he's crazy. Why do more? Look, if you told me someone went crazy hearing Jim Carrey do that annoying sound from Dumb and Dumber for over 10 years, I believe you. We surprisingly don't need to hear it for 40 minutes to get the idea. We can kind of catch on. But this falls under a genre that Rob Zombie is something of an expert on, exploitation horror. It's meant to be unpleasant, exploitive, and extreme. In some respects, what the original Halloween was seen as when it first came out. So you could argue that the annoyance is part of the idea, but Christ, what an annoying idea! So Michael spends most of his time hurting things, screaming, and getting in pointless fights. Which is surprising he doesn't get along with people, seeing how every character in this movie is hurting things, screaming, and getting into pointless fights.
Hey, tough guy.
Shut up!
What the hell is going on here?
Fuck you.
What did you say, sir?
Fuck you.
Mr. Principal? His mother is called into, what else? Scream and yell.
I cannot keep coming down here like this.
I do not enjoy calling you down here every 5 minutes.
It sure seems like you fucking do.
Can I have one day of being a stereotypical hooker while my stereotypical bad son gets beaten by his stereotypical drunk dad?
Hey. Stripper, not a hooker. There's a difference. Quite the difference, actually. I met some strippers who actually have some dignity and won't, resort to that. I'm going to shut up now.
And if they do, to each their own.
But
yeah,
Groovy,
they do.
Dr. Loomis,
Up to them.
played by Malcolm McDowell, is a child psychiatrist who noticed Michael's furry friends don't like playing with him very much.
Typically the thrill of causing pain to smaller creatures. It's often an early warning sign.
Early warning sign for what?
Lady, what answer wouldn't be alarming? And then, this plays for some reason.
What do you mean problems? What is this?
He's a very disturbed young man.
I love the look on Myers' face, like, why is that playing now? Do we do anything to cue it? Oh my god, I must be in the wrong scene. I better run to where the music makes sense. Nope, doesn't make sense out here. It's just a kid walking. Didn't this theme used to be a big deal, like they played over major moments? Okay, it's dying down now. I guess it wasn't meant to be played over anything big. Rather before something big. You go back and read your How to Use Halloween theme manual. He beats the crap out of one of the kids that made fun of him, and he returns home to watch better horror movies.
Sweetie, look at me. I know things have been bad, but tomorrow we start to make everything better, okay?
I'll start by taking one step away from the camera, but not two. One step at a time. His sister doesn't take him trick-or-treating, though, because she's too busy making love to her boyfriend, who... Ah! Where's William Shatner masks?
Take that stupid thing off.
Oh, come on, babe. I want to do it with the mask on.
Kid, how old are you? You're so bored with sex you need to spice it up already? Follow-up question. This is spicing it up? Myers decides he wants to spice things up too as he duct tapes his dad and kills him. Nothing particularly motivates him to do it. He just decides, why not now? And for no additional motivation, let's throw the sister in there too. The mother comes home and finds that Michael is actually a pretty good babysitter. Just not a good father, sister, or boyfriend sitter. Maybe I'll give that psychiatry thing a try.
You remember nothing about getting a knife?
I didn't do that.
Oh, okay.
I have to admit, there is something funny about him killing his family and then lying about it exactly how a little kid lies.
But you were covered in blood. Whose blood was it?
Don't believe the fake news. Both sides are to blame. He seems to be in denial about killing everyone, which again is an interesting mystery added on top of everything else. How much does he know and how much is a put on?
Afraid you can't go home.
Why?
Because you've done terrible things.
No, you're using your Malcolm McDowell all wrong. You're not supposed to let him act well. Don't you watch movies? You don't let a great actor like that give a good performance. Put him in shit like Tank Girl or Mr. Magoo and then we'll talk. It is interesting to see Loomis so sympathetic, hugging Michael, comforting him, really trying to help. I get why he was so one note in the original. It was to build up the danger of Myers. He's not a man, he's a monster and all that stuff. But here, he does see him as a child first. It's nice seeing what led up to that change of heart. Stuff like this probably had something to do with it.
What happened?
Myers seems too dangerous and unpredictable, even leading to his mother committing suicide. So he's locked away for years and clearly has been eating his Wheaties.
Jesus Christ.
Don't look at me. I'll be a shitstorm in your worst nightmare, motherfucker.
You know, it's not...
Lou Temple. I forgot he was in this. I actually met Lou Temple. Nice guy.
Cool.
Nice guy.
Not uncommon for a director to put himself in his own films, but to wear stilts? Loomis tells Michael
and also
that
that's
after
I forgot the guy playing Michael Myers is Tyler Mane. Remember the big guy from Conapalooza? The big guy who played Sabretooth? Mm. That's him.
I'm not talking for 15 years. He has no choice but to move on. At first, he seems really sympathetic, even calling him his best friend.
In a weird way, you've become like my best friend.
But boy, I guess a crowd really brings out the worst in people.
Behind these eyes, one finds only blackness.
Yeah, previous scene?
Like my best friend.
Next scene.
Blackness.
Previous scene?
Take care, Michael.
Next scene.
These are the eyes of a psychopath.
You sure you're not the one that needs medicine?
Hey! Both of them are crazy. What can you say?
Mm-hmm.
One of the caretakers brings Chester a bum in to have his way with one of the inmates. And they have the brilliant idea of bringing her into a cell with a gigantic homicidal maniac. But this came out of nowhere! But Myers realizes murder is like Pringles and he can't stop at just one. He even kills the one guard who treated him well, playing to his unpredictability. Though honestly, I think he just wanted to stop Machete too. He realizes his paper mask should probably be put to rest, so he goes to his old stabbing ground and grabs his nostalgia goggles. Ah! The theme actually makes sense in this scene! Witchcraft! Halfway through the film, we're introduced to the main character of the original, Laurie. I do like how when she and her friends see Myers for the first time, she doesn't act scared, she instead calls him out.
Hey, asshole! Hey, my daddy's the sheriff! Why don't you go crawl back under your fucking rock?
Hey, rock is my trigger word. I'm gonna go complain on a blog about this.
The rest is kinda what you'd expect. He follows her around, they play the same music, and Myers starts killing people on Halloween night.
I got a rock. And stabbed brutally to death.
Even when he sneaks into other people's houses. I like the fact that he won't kill someone based on their taste in movies.
You know what? It's a good film. John Carpenter's is good too, but you'll appreciate the classics. Liv?
I do also like that Myers sneaks up so well that half the time you don't even notice him. For such an over-the-top film, little touches like that are pretty cool. But don't worry, it doesn't get too subtle. Chucky from Child's Play shares a scene with Alex from A Clockwork Orange. I've never seen two people not trying to be the monster still come across as the monsters.
You have created quite the masterpiece of a monster off the blood of this town.
I know it in my bones, Sheriff.
Then you must promise that you will play it razor, and I mean razor straight with me.
These two could do a Christmas show and it'd still be terrifying.
They could,
In a clever combination of Halloween 1 and 2, Loomis reveals that Myers is after his baby sister, Laurie, who we don't want to see die because she's the closest thing to a decent human being in this film.
Look at this, Mom.
Laurie!
Oh, God.
I said almost.
Yeah.
But Myers still has to get in some
Yeah,
appetizers
Taylor
before the main course. And we never know what happened to her. Or this happens to her. We just like holding shots on doors. But fear not, there's even more confusing choices. Listen to Laurie's very bizarre, dare I say, ridiculously forced backstory after her mom committed suicide.
And I see this beautiful, innocent baby sitting in this bloody mess. I omit her from the report. I drive her to another town and drop her off at the nearest emergency room.
As sheriffs do! Christ, his manipulation of Theoden wasn't this crazy. Deserve and do whatever the hell you want, I guess. Myers finally comes face to face with her, so probably best to have everything on close-up and shaking.
Yeah, that is the one thing I will agree was a bit annoying.
It's like I'm really there, being shaken as a baby.
Right.
He knocks her out and takes her to his old house to show that he's her brother. Not entirely sure what he had in mind, but either way, she says shit on that noise and tries to escape.
You know, this is why men never show vulnerability around women.
He traps her in an empty swimming pool, a unique spot for a climax, but Loomis shows up to end it all. No, really, it's totally over. You know the rules, you kill the monster once, he's never coming back. Oh man, you did that so fast you didn't even give me time to finish my joke. My favorite is when McDowell just flat out screams, "What the hell?" What the hell? Yeah, no, stab him in the eye, or Michael, stop, just, what the hell? As if to say, really? We're doing this shit? I expected more out of something I already expected less from. What the hell? Loomis tries to sympathize, but Michael helps him see eye to eye by literally trying to push his eyes together. Laurie hides inside the house and honestly does way too good a job because he literally searches for her for 5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes of just silence and him looking around. Look, I know you want to build suspense, but you know the saying, so boring I'd rather stare at a wall? Well, Myers is literally staring at a wall for most of the time. I think more could be done here. But it's okay. It's then followed by 2 minutes of Myers just stabbing the ceiling, trying to get her. Is there such a thing as horror movies for plaster? Because that's what I feel like I'm watching. Let me guess, he's gonna hit the ceiling. I'm a wizard! And what's his great final plan to finish her off? He just runs towards her. And she's like, dumbass, I got a gun. She shoots him, she screams, and that's it. Halloween! So, this clearly isn't as good as the original, but I will give it this. It is the second best Michael Myers Halloween movie. But that's coming from a series that has this.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
So take it for what it's worth. I know it's different, a little clumsy, and arguably unnecessary, but in a strange way, I think it would work less if Zombie didn't direct it. The shocksploitation style has never been my thing, but it is a style that can be done good or bad. This does it good, but not great. It is a different direction, and sometimes it does tie into the traditional Halloween callbacks. It's kind of like Halloween, but in an alternate universe. The best stuff is in the mental hospital, and seeing him grow up did make me look at the killings in kind of a different way. It made me wonder what was going on in his mind when he was murdering them, while in the original you're more concerned about Laurie surviving. It's hit and miss, I suppose, but honestly, for a remake of one of the most famous horror films of all time, hit and miss is pretty impressive. It's strange and doesn't always work, but the stuff that does is kind of interesting. Take a look and see for yourself. I'm a nostalgia critic guy, remember it, so you don't have to.
Okay.
Right on.
Let me see if there's anything else. It's probably it's one of Doug's promos that he does for charity and everything. All right, so there was a bunch of scenes, actually good scenes in this that Doug didn't really talk about.
Yeah.
For me, the Joe Grizzly scene, where he kills the trucker in the bathroom stall.
Yeah, I barely remember it. It's been so long since I've seen it.
He's like, I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch. I'm gonna cut that mask right off of your face. He has the knife and everything. He wrestles the knife away from Joe Grizzly. It's the bathroom scene where he slams the guy into the stall.
You sure that wasn't the second one?
No, it was the first one, dude.
Okay.
But it's really, really good in my opinion in terms of how the scene flows, and we also get a grasp on just how strong and tenacious Michael is in this one. And we also get a few more scenes of I don't know, there's just stuff in this that Doug didn't talk about that I really liked, and I will admit that the final scene to me was a bit much in terms of how long it took for him and Laurie for him to find Laurie and everything.
Yeah.
If I were to do the...
I feel like chase scenes are better than hiding scenes any day.
Well, some hiding scenes, though, to me, the tension is quite palpable.
Yeah, but you don't need to go on for 5 minutes. 5 to 7 minutes.
You can. You just have to maintain interest. For instance, if I'm directing that scene, I am having Michael literally go through the house, trudging through the house. And then there's some scenes where it's real quiet. And that builds attention then. Yeah. And we see Laurie crawling somewhere. And then Michael hears a commotion. And he goes running towards it. And he tries to bust through. And he barely misses her. And we see her hunched over back against the inner wall. And Michael's hand is right there on the edge of it. And then he lets go and then goes off into another section of the house. And then she sees daylight, and right when she sees daylight, Michael then reaches in, grabs her, and pulls her out. That's what I would have done, but that each their own. I mean, Rob Zombie's a good director. I'm not gonna pretend that the man is not talented. The man is very talented, and honestly, listening to his Joe Rogan podcast, the podcast he did with Joe Rogan. You understand how some of the shit in Halloween is confusing because the studio interfered a shit ton with development of this movie.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Rob actually...
I kind of wonder because, when you watch his other films that are, 100% his, you can tell they're kind of different from this.
Yeah.
It's I could tell it was his, obviously, because Sherry was in it, and... just some of his shot choices and color palette choices.
Yeah,
and, the uncomfortableness of certain scenes and everything. But it just didn't wholly feel like his other movies, in terms of just how, exactly, I guess just the feel of it in general. It's hard to describe. You know what I mean?
No, I get you. The general, the look and feel of a Rob Zombie film. I've noticed it, and I'll say this. House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects, I will say, are to me probably two of my favorite Rob Zombie films.
House of the Thousand Corpses I don't like quite as much.
Oh no, Devil's Rejects I prefer over it.
Devil's Rejects I fucking love, and 3 from Hell is like my second favorite now.
Okay.
And before that would have been 31, because 31 is just like, I don't know that it's necessarily like a good movie, but it's a fucking crazy movie, and like I'm cool with that.
Well,
it's like it was what I wanted to watch basically when I signed up to watch it. I was like, yeah, like I want to see some crazy stuff from Rob Zombie, and that's what that movie is.
Yeah, and
it's like my least favorite I think I've seen so far, and like also about 31 though. Like I said, I've not even finished it, and it's still a crazy movie as far as I've seen. But Lords of Salem, like I watched I think 3/4 of it, and we ran out of time or something, or I can't remember what happened, but never did finish it, and just haven't really cared that much to finish it because it was just so boring compared to what he normally does. You know, it's him trying to do like a slow burn horror type thing, if that makes any sense.
In some cases, it can work.
It's a very slow burn.
Well, okay, in terms of a slow burn one, actually, the guy that Ari Aster, the guy who directed Hereditary and Midsommar, that's a perfect example of a slow burn.
Ooh, because there's like still a lot of stuff thrown into Midsommar, and like same thing with The Witch after I saw it the second time. Because the first time I saw The Witch, I was just like, is this movie ever gonna fucking go anywhere? And you know, it finishes off, and I'm just like, and then when I rewatched it later, and also the audio was better on the home release for The Witch, and so I could understand everything everybody was saying when I watched it later on out of theaters. And I started to realize a lot more like horror things were happening through the entire movie that I didn't pick up on the first watch. Like Midsommar's kind of the same way. There were a lot of horror things happening through the movie, even though like the whole big payoff and everything and stuff really hitting the fan took a long time to actually happen. You know, there was still a lot of horrific, disturbing things leading up to it, and that's important for like the pacing of a slow burn thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're gonna do a slow burn, make the bonfire huge at the end, but have some torches lighting the way up there, if that makes sense.
Quite literally with Midsommar.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'll say one thing about Rob Zombie's. You want to know how little of faith the studios had in him in the beginning? That when he made House of a Thousand Corpses, when he made it, the studio pretty much told him, they leaned over to him after the thing was after the movie credits started to roll. They're just like, Rob, we need to talk real quick. Can you meet us out in the hall? They go out in the hall, and guy's standing there, and Rob said when he came out of the room, when he came out of the theater, the guy was standing there just like this, just like turned away from him with his head like this.
Oh.
And then Rob turns around, he's like, "What's up?" And the guy says, "That fucking movie is unreleasable. You expect us to try and release something like that? That is unreleasable. We will never be able to achieve release with that." To which Rob was just like, "Man, I don't know what you expect me to say, man. I mean, it's my first fucking film."
Yeah.
And honestly, if you all want to make cuts, okay, but at the same time, you know, I don't want to sacrifice my vision. I mean, I want something that's going to, you know, make people feel uncomfortable. It's going to push buttons and shit like that. And lo and behold, it did. And not only that, but years and years later, that same movie studio has an attraction at Halloween Horror Nights that is titled House of a Thousand Corpses. 20 years later, man. Almost 20 years later, and they're still making bank off of it. Jesus Christ. Just shows you what studios know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Rob Zombie's Halloween, I can still say it's in my top 5 Halloween film, like Halloween Michael Myers films. But I don't know. There's just a lot there's a lot of shit to slog through with Halloween films. Mm-hmm. I mean, parts 3 through 6, I think, are, to me, not that good. I know 3
3's
doesn't
not
even
even
involve
related,
Michael
so.
Myers. Season of the Witch doesn't even involve Michael Myers, but 4, 5, and 6, I just don't know anymore.
Like 3's kind of alright as a standalone thing by
Well,
itself.
as a
It's
standalone, yeah.
I don't really count it when we're talking about the rest of the Halloween movies. Know what I mean?
Yeah. But altogether, I mean, still a good film in my opinion. But again, what did you all think? I mean, did you all like the Rob Zombie Halloween film? I mean, let us know in the comments down below. I mean, we're more than open to discuss this. But if there's also if there's anything else you all want us to watch, I mean, feel free to head over to our Discord and let us know on there. And also, if you want to see more from us, I mean, the little subscribe button right down there and the bell that you can ring to stay notified. And if you want to see more from the Nostalgia Critic and Doug Walker and Channel Awesome, feel free to click the link down below in the description to head over to Doug's channel. Man's got over 1 million subs and has hilarious reviews. I mean, feel free to check him out. And I guess until next time, signing off, I'm Nate.
I'm Nick.
And we will see you all in the next one. Peace out.